Welcome inside the SJHL Insider studios. I'm your host, Clark Munroe. We have a great show for you today here. January 23rd, Thursday, January 23rd, 2025 rolls on. Today on the show, we're going to recap the 4 games from the beginning of the week. It's a weird one this week. There was 3 games on Tuesday. There was 1 last night. It's an interesting week. There's games tonight on a Thursday. We got games every day. It's crazy this week, but we'll recap the first 4. Plus, we're going to be joined by SJHL Commissioner Kyle McIntyre for a mid-season report, so that should be a lot of fun. And a special appearance, actually, here in studio, which is rare for us here on SJHL Insider. In studio, head coach and general manager of the Flin Flon Bombers, the red-hot Flin Flon Bombers, Mike Reagan. Plus, we got some more stuff to talk to, so let's thank our sponsors and get this on the road. Canterra Seeds, Borgo, Capital Auto Mall, SAS Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL, SGEU, Great Western, SGI, our podcast sponsor, SGI, and RBC, the Community Ambassador Program. There's more coming up with that. Stay tuned. Teaser. That's what they call a teaser. Speaking of a teaser, this guy's a bit of a teaser himself. No, he's not. That was a weird segue. Jamie Neugebauer, welcome to the show, voice of the Notre Dame Hounds. And Jamie, you'll see an extra little chair beside you there. It's empty right now, but it won't be soon. Mike Reagan's going to be right beside you in a couple minutes here. So pretty good show today. Welcome in. Thanks for being here. Excited to have you. Let's dive in. You ready?
I'm ready. I have been known to tell a joke or two.
You are a bit of a
my
teaser.
Time, so
you are a bit of a teaser.
I do like to think I add a little je ne sais quoi to the program.
A little, yeah. I don't know any other French words off the top of my head, but there's one of them. Yeah. Of all the French words, those are a few of them. Yeah. You know what? Because there's so much going on today on the show, let's just jump right into it. It's time for the Prairie Proud Hat Trick.
It's time!
Holy. If you were having a down Thursday, you're up now. That was a holy cow. We're ready now. It is time. We got a Prairie Proud hat sitting there beside Mr. Neugebauer. We had a bunch of Prairie Proud stuff here. Oh, it's still in the building, but we don't have it on set today. But Prairie Proud, love those guys. They're doing great stuff. And super exciting to have them on board. Let's do a recap here of the games so far this week. There was 3 games on Tuesday, 1 last night. Let's have a look at Tuesday as we roll here. Humboldt took it to the Nipawin Hawks with a 6-1 win on Tuesday night. Weyburn, and we'll talk about this one, Nugsy, because you were in the building for this one. 6-1 win, a lot of firepower from the Weyburn Red Wings on that night. And Flin Flon with a 3-0, a nice clean win over Melville in Melville on Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday, Flin Flon was right back at it with a 4-0 shutout win against the Estevan Bruins in Drew Kosher's debut as the Estevan Bruins head coach and general manager, interim, I should say. Let's start back on Tuesday, Nugsy, 3-0 win. Let's start with Flin Flon and Melville. Obviously, Flin Flon continuing their streak on Tuesday night. A clean 3-0 win, I'll say, over the Melville Millionaires. It just seems like they just can't do any wrong right now. And we joke, and we'll talk about it with Mike Reagan when he gets here a little bit later, but we joke that no matter how much they win, they just can't seem to actually make up any ground on Melfort, which is so funny, because Melfort's also winning a lot. But what did you see from Flin Flon and Melville on Tuesday?
You say that, but actually Flin Flon is 5 points back now of Melfort.
Well, there you go.
So, but with 3 games in hand, that being said. So
they played 2 games this week,
They do have some ground to make up, still the Bombers do. But, I was speaking to Mike, trying to, how do you kind of compare this year's Bombers team to last year's Bombers team? Because if you remember, Clark, we just talked about the Bombers blowing the doors off teams over and over again. And they do it a little bit differently. They do it more system and heavy and gritty. And, again, I talked at length about what I believed Liam Hunks would do when put in this uniform for Flin Flon, not just because he's an elite player in our league and maybe the best defenseman, I think the best defenseman in the league, but also for the other guys, for Mike Reagan and Cole McKegg, whether they can put out, they'll always have a Hunks or a Leper or a Tanchuk on the ice, and those are 3 of the best in the league, and you're always going to feel safe when those guys are out there. And that bared out right away here on this game. 3-0 win, Ryder Ringer with a couple goals and Liam Hunks with the other. But the bigger thing that was more interesting to me was, and not that Melville's offense has been flying, but they've been much better since the trade deadline, bringing in Fogel and Winder. and still having, Rain Hodge and Iogan, who just committed and whatnot. The Bombers gave up 3 good scoring chances really in that game, and that was it. So, Matt Keeper had maybe the easiest shutout of his career.
12 saves.
12 saves.
12 saves.
And the Bombers just aren't giving up much, and they're scoring plenty. So that's a good recipe.
Yeah, it's a great recipe. Like you said, Matthew Keeper, he hasn't lost a game in the SJHL since joining the Flin Flon Bombers, what was it, like a month and a bit ago? End of November there. So it is pretty wild to see the amount of winning as the man himself walks into the room on the other side of the cameras. You can't see him, but the Flin Flon Bombers are just brutal. They're just terrible. We hear a little giggle. I got a giggle. No, but they just keep doing good things. And like you said, Nugs, we'll talk about them more in a sec because there is another game. So let's move on to the other two from Tuesday night. We got Humboldt beating Nipawin 6-1. Obviously, this was an important win for Humboldt. And I say this, weirdly, playing against the last place team in Nipawin, saying that it's an important win seems weird. But at the same time, every single point right now, and I don't mean 2 points, I mean every point is very important right now for the Humboldt Broncos. They are 3-0-1 in the last 4 now after Tuesday night's game, and they are in a tie right now for 7th. If they get a win, we'll get to this later, but they do play tonight. If they get a win tonight, they can move up into 6th. So every point is so crucial right now for Humboldt, who are trying to hold on to that at least the 8th spot for playoffs. So that's a big win for them, I think, over the Nipawin Hawks, despite them being in last place.
Yeah, I mean, you say, the Broncos and their schedule, yada, yada, yada. But you remember in November and December, or late November, early December, the Broncos felt like they had a manageable schedule then too. And, Rory was all frustrated because, and the Broncos were all frustrated because they were letting all those games slip. And, I think back to last week in Wilcox, the Broncos it wasn't a pretty game. They didn't play great. They just found a way to win. Yeah. And that got Jacob Streetsy going. And when Jacob Streetsy is going and scoring, then that's obviously a dimension for this Humboldt Broncos team. And
that's
they
tough.
got a couple
for anyone else, not for the Humboldt Broncos. That's great for them.
You know what they always say, right, Clark? You need your best players to be your best players. Connor Miller is always going to be, do his thing. You're always going to have that pairing of McElwain and Fouquet you can throw out there when you're in trouble. But can you just find ways to win as opposed to find ways to lose? The Broncos found a way to win, and it's kind of turned things around for them just a little bit. Obviously, Daz and Mitchell getting a little bit more comfortable. It doesn't hurt either. But they are putting some pucks in the net, and you got to beat who's in front of you. That's what they're doing. And I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, and this is the last thing I'll say. Broncos, I kind of called them out on Monday on our show. I said, I think you have a much, much better roster than 8th or 7th in the SJ. And I'm sure Melfort, and Flin Flon would prefer Humboldt didn't finish 7th or 8th. Yeah. Because that would not be a fun series because they can beat anybody. And they're showing it right now. So, if you're a Broncos fan out there, just hope that continues. Yeah,
Jamie, it was the nicest call out I've ever heard. Yeah. It was the most positive call out I've ever heard.
That's my way, I guess.
It was, hey, I'm calling you out because I think you're better than your record shows.
Yeah.
I think
it was more like a parent. You know?
Exactly. Yeah,
I was like, look, son,
I'm not mad.
You're acting out.
I'm not mad.
But you're better than this.
I'm just disappointed.
That's all. Disappointed. It
was a big 2-goal night from Merrick Mamich. It was a 3-point night from Oakley McElwain, a 3-point night from Boris Kaufman, 2 points for Trey Fouquet. So they got some big names popping off against the Nipawin Hawks.
On 29 shots.
29 shots. Again, Gage Roberts, 23 saves for Nipawin.
It's a good shot percentage because, again, the Broncos were creating chances when they were struggling. They just weren't putting them in.
Exactly. So, Daz and Mitchell, you mentioned 24 saves on 25 shots on the night, so good performance there. And I'm sure that Humboldt is coming into tonight feeling pretty good after winning, and also, looking back to last week, beating Notre Dame last week in overtime. So it should be a very interesting week and couple weeks going forward for Humboldt, kind of as this playoff situation shakes down. Luckily for them...
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Thank you, Bryce. I needed that.
I just hope we win a game.
I just hope we win a game. They are winning games right now. It's perfect timing for that. They are getting a little bit of help, Humboldt is, from Larange, who are 3-6 in their 3-6-0-1 in their last 10 games. Estevan obviously has lost their last 3. Humboldt right now does have a 5 5-point cushion over Larange and an 11-point cushion over Estevan.
You know what the problem with Larange is they play in the Sherwood division.
Right.
And they have to play Melfort and Flin Flon 16 times.
Monsters.
That is really tough for them. So that's their biggest problem. I don't think there's anything wrong per se with Larange. It's just,
right.
Who are they facing?
They got tough opponents, but at the same time, this happened last year too, if I'm not mistaken. With I think it was Larange, was it not? Where they were halfway through. There was this 2 years ago that I'm thinking, but they were halfway through the year, and it's like they're right on the verge, they're right on the edge, and they just can't seem to get those wins when they need them to just get them back.
Yeah, they were on the
push.
verge last year, and then kind of fell apart,
year.
and then they ended up finishing, I think, second last.
But they were right there. If they just won a couple games here and there, but they're only 5 points out. That can change in a matter of a couple weeks. You can get a 6-point week, and you're good to go. So let's move on to the third game from Tuesday night, and that was, of course, your Notre Dame Hounds losing 6-1 to the Weyburn Red Wings. Jerome Maharaj had a night. Ethan DK showed up. There was a bit of an injury issue going on, a couple injuries actually. So we can get into that, and we will actually get into Weyburn's injury because we're talking about that in segment 3. I guess we didn't really talk about that part, but segment 3 is going to be the ins and outs of the showcase. One of them is one of the Weyburn injuries, so we'll save that kind of. But a big night from Weyburn, Nugsy, and Hudson Kerr scored in the third, but at that point it was already 6-0, so it ended up 6-1. And then it kind of just held on from there. Can you talk about this game? Because obviously it seemed like a bit of a frustrating one from a Hounds perspective, but maybe a great one from the Red Wings perspective.
Yeah, well, let's rewind last week. Cody Mapes was really unhappy with his team after the way they played in Melville. They lost 3-1, and you know what? You lose 3-1 to Doug Johnson's team, like that's going to happen. He's going to suffocate you. Yeah. But Cody was talking about practice habits, and he felt like the Wings to take that next step from, kind of that middle playoff team to really contending with the Flin Flons and the Melforts. It's not about the roster construction of the talent because he felt like they had it. It was about practice habits. It was about that professionalism that they were looking for, and they came out flying against Larange last weekend. They won 8-2. Before Cody could blink, he said it was 3-0 Red Wings. Yeah. And then I felt like they came out the same way.
To be fair, Cody's a very slow blinker.
He does have those big eyes.
Really slow blinks.
But they came out and they jumped on the Hounds right away and took away and in that rink and that's what you have to do really. And when you're in your home rink, we've been to the Whitney Forum, been to the Northern Lights Palace. They get on you so fast, and that's what the best teams do is when they're at home, they don't let you breathe, they don't let you have hope. And the Weyburn Red Wings, again, they showed that, they're not going to give you hope if you go into that rink if you're not ready from the puck drop. And, it was a bit of a tough night for a young goalie in Caden Perron. Spencer Borsos really needed a night off, and he got it. But, Jerome is such an impressive player, such an impressive leader on that Weyburn team. It's not just his speed and his skill, which obviously are abundant, but I think he's taken another big step physically. He's taken a big step in being a leader, a vocal guy. I think he was a bit of a quieter guy for Weyburn, but he's a vocal guy now. And, you put him and Jackson Ruthven together, and occasionally they throw out Ethan DK for matchups. And, interesting to see Matty Edwards get his debut. I'm sure he'll be better moving forward. It was his first game in the SJ. I'm sure he wasn't 100% sure what to expect. But, very impressive stuff from Weyburn. And as I said, the biggest thing was not really that they won 6-1, which I'm sure, it was big for them to get the 2 points, but it was more how they did it, how they went about it. And it was professional, it was heavy, it was fast, and very, very impressive top to bottom.
You mentioned that teams like that, especially at home, don't like to let their teams and opponents breathe. Their opponents breathe. A couple weeks ago in Weyburn's rink, if you breathed, you would have been dead.
Well,
so they took that a little too literally, Weyburn, but they fixed that. We're good now. We're good. Sorry for the shot. I know Cody's going to text me probably and be like, "Hey."
Also, got to give a shout out to Ty Matanovic making his Weyburn debut as well in net, getting the goal, and a guy getting a goal too that started it off. That Cody's been all over me to talk about more, and for good reason. Blake Betson, their captain, doesn't get a lot of love, but he does everything for them. He's got a very heavy shot as well, and scored on a nice rebound off a Turner McIntyre shot, or Josh Sales shot, pardon me. Just very impressive top to bottom for Weyburn. Yeah,
we'll look at the standings just in a minute. Not quite yet. But I just got a text about don't mention the rink again from one of our directors in the back. Thank you. Good note.
It wasn't me.
We'll move on to Wednesday. Flin Flon, obviously a 4-0 win in just spoiling Drew Kosher's debut as head coach and GM of the Estevan Bruins, of course. And it was in Estevan, in the Energy City, of course. And obviously this one, Nugsy, what do you got for me for this game here on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I mean, that's a sign, again, of a veteran team in the right headspace. Don't let the other team breathe, the team that's below you breathe. And this Flin Flon team, they seem really together. We can talk to Mike, in a couple of moments here about kind of the togetherness with which the Bombers play. They're connected. There isn't really that cheating on the back end. They've got the right pieces in the right place, and on every night it seems like there's a new hero up front. Obviously they'll be without another guy who was supposed to go to the showcase in Leighton Carruthers. My understanding is for a bit, but Keith Gruner showed up this night after Ryder Ringer the night before. It doesn't matter who it is. Could be Cohen Semp the next night. Landon Alexander, we talked about some of the hardest hitters in the league. He's one of the harder hitters in the league too. So yeah, there's just a lot to like. And again, I think Matthew Keeper had to be a little bit busier on this night than he was in Melville. But my understanding is too that there was a response for Drew. Happy to see Drew Kosher get the opportunity. We'll miss Jason Tatarnic big time. Yeah. Sung his praises. The league won't be the same without him. But hey, you know what? Professional teams, they go in and they don't care about the occasion. They don't care that there's a new coach or what. They just put the foot to the pedal the second the first puck is dropped, and that's what the Bombers did again. And I'm sure Mr. Mike, who's sitting over to our left, is pretty happy with his team right now.
Mr. Mike's, So Zach Shaughnessy with 36 saves on the night, 39 shots. Matthew Keeper 22 of 22. So 2 shutouts. Matthew Keeper this week. Total of 34 saves. Less saves than Zach Shaughnessy made in this game, which I find interesting. We'll leave it at that. So let's have a look at the standings now. We'll move on to topic number 2, I think, Nugsy, as long as you got anything else to go through?
No.
You want to touch on? Let's look at the
Liam
standings.
Hunks is good.
Liam Hunks, a.k.a. Good player.
Good player.
So as you can see on the league standings, Melfort, as you mentioned, Nugsy, yes, Flin Flon has closed the gap a little bit. There are 3 games in hand still for the Melfort Mustangs, so we'll see how that shakes out when those games get made up. But they do still lead the way, Melfort, with a 5-point cushion over Flin Flon. Weyburn, they are moving their way up as well. They have separated themselves a little bit from that next group. Weyburn with 50 points right now. Yorkton and Battleford's tied for 45. That could change tonight as Battleford's is in action. We'll get to that later in the show. But there is a 45-point tie between those two teams. Kindersley, after about a 7-game win undefeated in regulation streak, now they've lost a few in a row, so they've lost they had a little bit of a cushion.
They were bit by the schedule snake.
Exactly.
They had a tough schedule
snake for sure. They played some very good teams, of course, but they did lose their little cushion that they did have about a week or 2 ago, and now Melville has creeped back up there. Humboldt has creeped back up there, so there is a 40, 39, 39 between Kindersley, Melville, and Humboldt. Larange, as I mentioned earlier, have now kind of lost a little bit of ground. They're 5 points out of a playoff spot now. Estevan, 11 points out, and they are also 6 points back of Larange. They do have 3 games in hand on Larange, so if they win all 3 of those games, they'd be tied with Larange. So there you go. A little bit of hope there for Estevan. Notre Dame, 26 points, and Nipawin, 19. Let's have a look at the divisional standings now as we give a shout-out to our division sponsors. Viterra, as you can see, the Weyburn Red Wings among the hottest teams in the league right now, 8-2 in their last 10. Yorkton, 5-5. Not exactly sure, but they'll be okay. I have a weird feeling. The Melville Millionaires, 4-6. They're sitting there with 39 points. We move into the Sherwood division. I mean, if you're Flin Flon, what else can you do? You're winning every single game pretty much. And so is Melfort. Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm sure that Mike, as he stares at me right now, is probably happy that they're at least winning all the games. Yeah, he's giving me one of these.
What else can you do?
Just keep winning, I guess.
Yeah.
Larange, as I mentioned, they need to flip those numbers. They're 3-6 in their last 10. They need to flip that around if they want to make a playoff push. We move into the Nutrien division now. I say this like every week. Battleford's at the top, 5-5 in their past 10. I'm literally a broken record with Battleford's, 5-5 in their last 10 games. Kindersley still 6-3 despite losing their last 3. 6-3-0-1 in the last 10 despite losing their last 3. So it's not gray skies in Kindersley, but they need to. I'm sure they don't love what happened.
So let me ask you a question.
Ask me a question.
Between Battleford's and Yorkton, it looks, again, still time, but it looks like that's 4-5.
Yeah.
Which of those teams do you feel like needs home ice more?
Needs home Battlefords.
Why do you say
Needs
that?
home ice more.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because I think Yorkton has a team that's built that they can just kind of, we've talked about this a lot,
Yeah.
but they can kind of just go with anyone.
Yeah.
So I think if they're on the road or they're not, I feel like Battlefords is a team that I think would just use a little extra advantage. I don't think it
Interesting.
would hurt them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, Battlefords has got the goaltending. I would say, depending on the night, I would say generally I would give the goaltending edge a little bit to Battlefords with Justin Merrick, just being the veteran that he
Yeah.
is with the experience that he has. And I mean, we talked to Josh Kotai, I should say, on Monday about Justin Merrick because Josh played with him when Justin was a fresh 18-year-old in the league, and he had nothing but good things to say. So I'd give the goaltending slightly to Battlefords, but generally I would say if you could give them home ice advantage, I think they would take advantage of it more than Yorkton would. Can you give me numbers to back that up?
Yorkton is 10-5 at home, and Battlefords is 9-6-4.
Okay, so about the same. Not too much different.
Yeah,
there.
not too different, but
Yeah.
but I mean, I think that's probably fair. Yeah,
I
But
would. It's a hunch.
There's
but
more experience. There's more playoff experience on Battlefords.
yeah. The best part about it is if they're 4-5, if that's how it ends up, that'd be a
fun.
heck of a series.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like it.
times.
So that's good. Topic number 3, Nugsy. I'm going to let you take this
Yeah.
one because it's showcase rosters. There's a bit of an update as there's some ins and outs.
Yeah, not a ton. Hopefully no more. Obviously, it's an injury thing. So Rylan Williams, again, there's an argument for sure that a veteran like Rylan Williams could have been there anyways.
Right.
Out of Kyle, Saskatchewan, the Battlefords North Star. He's actually going to be on the opposite team to his other Battlefords teammates.
Yeah.
Not the
Injuries
U20
are
there.
the way that they
But
are, yeah.
Because the injuries is what it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, so he's going to replace Leighton Carruthers. And then for the U18 team, Ian Biors of Notre Dame will replace Turner McIntyre, who, as you mentioned there briefly or whatever, when the Hounds played Weyburn, McIntyre, a very unfortunate situation there. So, so Ian will come in there and be the third Hound. And now there's down to 6 Weyburn Red Wings instead of 7.
Oh, no.
So there you go. But, again, both Ian and Rylan were deserving guys too. But again, there's what you would call a snub and whatever. But you really don't want anybody to have to drop out because of injuries. So
Yeah.
hope Leighton and Turner can get better fast.
Is it time to hit the panic button in Weyburn? They only have 6 players going to the showcase. What are they going to do?
I interviewed Cody before the game on the weekend there, and he was like, "Yeah, I remember when we had nobody." So
Right.
at the showcase. So big steps forward in Weyburn.
I think he's having a good time.
Yeah.
You know what? Who also is having a good time? I love the segues. I've been crushing the segues lately. The SJHL Commissioner Kyle McIntyre, as we go out on the video chat line now to see Kyle. Kyle, it feels like we just chatted, but you know what? Can't get enough Kyle McIntyre in my life. So how's it going, Kyle?
It's going great, Clark, and we really didn't just chat. We had like about 3.5 minutes while you were hosting the Rod Peterson show. So thanks for the makeup conversation.
Yeah, this was definitely a makeup call for sure. If there's ever been one. So listen, Kyle, we're giving you the floor. So there is no time limits. The only time limit is Mike Reagan is staring at me and he's like, "Hey,
Staring daggers."
Yeah, he's tapping his wrist right now. So that's the only thing. This is why we don't bring coaches into the studio. They're so needy, Kyle. No, we're having fun here. But listen, Kyle, let's start with what we did talk about on the Rod Peterson show. The SJHL trade deadline is behind us now. It was pretty active. We weren't really ready for that. We all kind of had a feeling that it might not be so active, and it was. The league's looking strong top to bottom right now. Can you talk about kind of where everybody's at right now in terms of the strength of the league, the parity, and the teams at the top, Melfort and Flin Flon, are really showcasing themselves well?
Well, certainly in one of your first segments today, you're highlighting the parity that's in the league. And certainly I think that Melfort and Flin Flon have kind of separated themselves a little bit. And Flin Flon's been on a real heater since they got Matthew Keeper in net. And he is really he is stealing a lot of games. He played here last year in Swift Current near the end of the year, and it was a 3-goalie rotation. But Matthew is playing with a lot of confidence. He's seeing the puck well, and that's giving Flin Flon an opportunity to climb back into it. So it's again, lots of parity. When we look at 3 to 10, anything can happen. We've seen lots of positive gains off the ice, in particular the attendance. And really what I wanted to highlight the other day was some of the attendance gains by some of the teams. Of course, the Yorkton Terriers are the most significant. They've been averaging about 1277 a game in terms of their fan attendance. The attendance has been outstanding, and they're a super competitive team to watch. And their attendance has increased, Clark, by 88% since last year. So really a remarkable turnaround for the Terriers, both on and off the ice, which is excellent. And then the Nipawin Hawks have also had a pretty significant increase in the number of season tickets they sold, and their attendance is up about 33%. So overall, off the ice, the league is up about 10% in terms of attendance, which is awesome. And fans are being treated to some real good games. The offense is totally up. And when you look at our scoring race, when before have we had 4 players with 46 points each in the scoring race? So I think things are really exciting. I think it's a great time of year. I think the rosters are fairly set right now, and the hunt is on for probably 11 of the teams.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is an exciting season. There's lots of positives, and that's, I think, the biggest thing, Kyle, is the strength of the league off the ice. I think was something that, some fans, I'm not going to say a lot of fans, but some fans were definitely concerned about when all this Junior A drama went down over the course of the last couple of years, let's say. It's dated back a couple of years. Can you talk about that in terms of your confidence in the league's strength right now, I'll say from the business side of things? You kind of mentioned it a little bit there, but team-wise, business-wise, community-wise, how are you feeling about the league right now?
Oh, I'm feeling really good. Like when you think about the SJHL, the sky is not falling, Clark. It's a league that has been around for 60 years. Many of our franchises, including the youngest ones, have been around 30 years. So I always knew there's lots of stability. The way that our league is constructed, it's community-owned and operated, it's community-based. The teams have a symbiotic relationship with the communities. And so our teams do lots of outreach. They volunteer at minor hockey. They volunteer at schools. They go to old folks' homes. They're really good role models for both boys and girls. And you can see that when you go to the rinks and you see the people that are attending. It's becoming more of a family-friendly and really a community pride sort of event. So, I mean, that's super positive. And that really makes us unique. And then we have events that are coming up, like our SJ Showcase, which is coming up next week. Probably the league that we work the closest with is the Manitoba Junior League. And again, the Showcase is a great annual event, and it's going to be super competitive. Pretty excited about some of the lineup changes we have. And unfortunately, both Leighton Crothers and Turner McIntyre got some injuries, which is too bad. It would have been a great opportunity for those kids who are having great years. But, as hockey works, both Ian Boers and is going to step up, and Rylan Williams, and hopefully we can get through the games leading into the weekend without any injuries. So pretty happy with the quality of play. As you know, we brought in the WCDM, which is the Western Hockey League rules. I think now our officials are very comfortable with them. The players and the coaches are comfortable with them. I think that we've seen an increase in offense, even though we have some goalies that are having remarkable seasons. So really pleased with what's going on. And again, hats off to our coaches and our players that, come every night prepared to play, and no team is mailing it in this far in the season.
Yeah, great point too that you mentioned there, that 4 guys tied on 46 points to top the stat leaders there.
2 of them are in Weyburn.
DK, Maharaj, Kotai, and Ingram all tied on 46. Pretty cool. Okay, let's get down to the showcase then here, Kyle. You said you got the jerseys for us. Maybe you can give us a quick sneak peek here.
I'm going to show you one of them. I'll show you. This is Team Blue. These are the young guns.
Okay.
And so
there we go.
That's the front of the jersey,
Team
right?
Sweden.
And this is Mason Karkachuk's jersey. So
there you go.
Really nice. And of course, we have white, gold, and blue. Yep. And Manitoba goes with their white, black, and red. And this year we're going to have both the pad shells and the socks from our new provider, Jog. And so looking forward to showcasing those. But more importantly, looking forward to the battles that are on the ice, because as we people in this chat would know, and Mike and Jacob could also attest to this, that no one is mailing it in during these games. They are fast, they're intense, and people are used to the speed and the skill during the regular season at our league games. But this showcase, it goes up a bit of a notch, because, I mean, a lot of the players are being watched by a number of NCAA and ACHA and Div 3 schools. So some kids that are still playing for scholarships are in the mix. And certainly with some of the stuff that's been happening with the NCAA and CHL, I think that's going to normalize here. I think that still the very best players that you're going to see at the showcase are going to get good look and a good opportunity. And, when you look at top of our scoring race, have we seen 4 more talented players than the 4 that are tied with 46 points? So I think it's going to be a great event. I think it's going to be awesome, and I think that people will tune into Flow Hockey are going to see some really good games.
And we have custom Munroe and Neugebauer jerseys coming our way. Is that what I heard, Kyle?
Do you have a wax build up there, Clark?
Not like.
Yeah, sorry. The headset wasn't working. Sorry, I wasn't sure what I heard.
I could probably find you one somewhere down the line for sure. Yep.
Hey, if he won't let me coach, and he probably won't get me a jersey
That's
either.
fair.
So.
Yeah, you're not coaching.
Well,
I'm
maybe
really
if you
treated
talk
really
nicely
badly
to
around
Mike, Mike would maybe let you coach sometime if he gets back in there again.
He's
go.
one of the few
Probably
that are
not.
nice to me. That's right.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nugie.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't know if you had another question.
No, that
or
was
not.
my little. I just wanted to throw that.
You
in
know
there.
what? You know what, Kyle? I'm gonna risk my life and my job here just
Okay.
a little bit.
This is good.
I'm a little bit tired of when I ask you and Kevin Surratt whether you guys have anything on the line at these events. You guys say, "Oh, we just want a good game. We want good competition." When are you guys gonna tell us what you have on the line? Because you're competitive. I know I'm competitive. Clark's competitive. Mike over here is hyper competitive. That's why he's the SJHL Coach of the Year, and Jacob's over there. We want to beat the MJ bad. That's important. So what do you have on the line? Don't put it around the bush here.
Well, one of the coaches that actually owed myself and the coaches in the media a bit of a haul after he had lost some games has left the SJHL for the OHL. And so we kind of have an informal thing that any team that goes 0 for 2 that loses, that is bettered by the MJHL, they usually have to treat the coaches, media, and commissioner to some festive beverages on one of the nights of the showcase. So Kevin and I directly haven't made any bets. That's the truth. If you really wanted, maybe you could make a bet with Dave Dawson or someone from Manitoba. Maybe it could be like a media bet, or Eric Swore. Maybe you can bet with him, Nugsy.
So we're not going to say the coach's name, but it might rhyme with Jot Blarney.
Yeah,
is that what we're saying?
Blarney,
yeah, his initials are Scott Barney. He and Tad Cozen.
Yeah,
I think they were the ones that were supposed to treat this year, so I know that poor Tad won't want to be left on the hook for that.
Yeah,
well, who knows? Maybe they'll send something. Maybe he'll send a care package.
Yeah, could be. Well, maybe for those that are not familiar, Kyle, like why is this showcase important? What kind of makes it special? Why does it matter?
Well, you know what? Even at the Centennial Cup, you see that there's a real healthy rivalry between the leagues. A lot of kids from Saskatchewan play in the MJHL. Some kids from Manitoba play in our league. A lot of these kids have seen one another, whether it's on Team West or whether it's on some future or some past prospect camps. And so there's a real interest amongst our players in proving that they are superior, that we are a better league. Even when we go to the Centennial Cup, probably the best games in the entire tournament are between Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And I think that the leagues play a similar style. It's a 200-foot game. It's fast. It's physical. Kids aren't taking shifts off, which really adds to the excitement for the fans and the coaches, and of course the engagement for the players. For us as a league, it's a good opportunity to show best on best. And if you talk to Kevin and I, we do believe that we have two of the best leagues in Canadian Junior A hockey. We believe that we provide great opportunities through our programs and through the coaching that we have. And we really think that if a team is really looking for those players that are going to be positive difference makers on teams, look no further to the SJHL. Like when you think about a program like Lindenwood, for example, they have 6 former SJHL guys playing, 4 that are Bombers. You look at Northern Michigan right now; they got 4 SJHL guys that are in the lineup. You see that Josh Kotai is one of the finalists for the Mike Richter Award. So the kids that are going to NCAA Division I, they are kids that are becoming leaders. They are kids that are contributing to the teams, and again. We think that this is one of the best leagues for development for players 20 and under, and the showcase is one more opportunity to show that.
Yeah, no question. You mentioned there Josh Kotai. We also have to mention Josh Kotai, Ryan Willett, named finalist for the Hobie Baker.
Yeah.
Though I guess if you're just in NCAA Division I, you're a finalist for the Hobie Baker, because
there's a few.
The list is as long as my arm. But also former Notre Dame High School Nikita Nakora also there. But that's a story for another time. Yep. Just a last question. Then you just talk about going to Winnipeg. Winnipeg. Is there any hopes or plans or thoughts on, keeping this kind of long term? Is it possible that we'll see it back in Regina one day? And I guess also with that too, part B is what was some of the feedback from the Weyburn Showcase and whether that will stick around, just in terms of being creative with these sort of showcases with the prairies and maybe the AJ involved, whatnot.
That sounds like 6 questions in one.
Pick a couple if you want.
The MJSJ Showcase, once upon a time, it did rotate back and forth between Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And if you have flown to Eastern Canada or you've flown to the eastern part of the Western Canada, you'll see that some of the flights are not really conducive to being easy to manipulate or easy to navigate. And so for one of the reasons, logistically, it's an easier shot for the scouts to come to the showcase to get into Winnipeg, into Manitoba. And so Kevin and I have talked a little bit about this. So I think that our immediate plans are to keep it in Manitoba because it is a good format and we're kind of familiar with that. The Western All-Star Challenge, of course, was one that we did this year specifically for the 18 and under players to give them an opportunity to have a physical training camp for Team West, the World Junior A Challenge. Certainly we want Alberta to be part of that, and we have been having conversations, so it would be a 3-team, 3-league event, which would be awesome, and our plans are to keep that in Saskatchewan somewhere. And so I think that's kind of what we're talking about right now, and of course, during the showcase, Kevin and I will discuss that. Another topic, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag before the governors approve it, but I'm going to. We're also talking about doing some interlocking play between the leagues because there seems to be some interest in doing that. And so we're going to be discussing some of those things during the showcase. And we think those things are good for both leagues and good for the programs in our league, because wouldn't it be super exciting to see the Steinbach Pistons or the Winkler Flyers play Flin Flon or play Weyburn or play Melville? Like, I think that would be awesome for the league. So we're discussing some of that. And of course, we want to involve our partners to the West as well. So just starting some of these initial conversations. And so far, there seems to be some positive traction from everybody on that.
All of the junior hockey conspiracy theorists' ears just perked up with that last sentence that Kyle just said there. All of them. So listen up, conspiracy theorists. Kyle just said something.
But to be fair, like the Melfort-Winkler game at the Centennial Cup last year was one of the best hockey games like I've ever seen. Like, so.
Oh, outstanding. Like every time Manitoba and Saskatchewan play, they have a great game. And even the Calgary game, against Melfort last year, that was also a game for keeps. Like,
yeah, it was unreal.
You know what? I will tell you something over a soda in Manitoba that I would like to see too, but I'm not going to say
He's keeping this one close to his chest on that one. Kyle, I got 2 more for you, and then we'll let you go for the day here. We talked about this one on Tuesday, but I wanted to give you a bit of a more open platform to talk about it because I know you had to rush your answer on it. The topic of league expansion has come up recently with the way Assiniboia stepped up for the Weyburn Red Wings and filled up the billets within an hour or two. Really showed well in terms of their community support for that team over that stretch of 3 weeks or so, and when Weyburn was having their arena issues. Is league expansion? I don't even think we need to talk about moving teams or anything like that. But is there talks or thoughts, interest in league expansion, adding teams to the league right now? Where's the league at with that kind of discussion?
You know what? In the 3 years that I've been in this chair, I've been approached by a number of different communities, both inside and outside the province, about joining the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Because, again, from the outside, I mean, we're a league with great stability. We have great competitive balance. We have a lot of traditionally strong and engaged communities and franchises. So who would not want to be part of that scenario? But in terms of I would say there's probably some fears. You don't want to water it down too much. You don't want to dilute the recruiting pool. And so I think there is a concern about that, whether it's legitimate or not. And so we got to be a little bit careful about that. But, right now we're a real healthy league and we got 12 healthy franchises and we're not looking to add to that. We're looking at building on some of the strengths that we do have in the league. And again, the interlocking play with Alberta and Manitoba would be some possibilities that we think would be beneficial for everybody, but great for the league.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. Last one for you. Obviously, Estevan just went through a coaching change. Jason Tatarnic out after winning a championship in 2022. Drew Kosher in. Can you just talk about that situation a little bit from anything that, from your perspective, and maybe talk about Drew a little bit from what you know about Drew?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I mean, my concern always is for people that are involved in hockey that have families. And Jason has been a long-term coach, and he's got a couple teenage daughters and a wife that are probably impacted by this. So certainly our thoughts go out to Jason. And, you know, knowing Jason's hockey pedigree, his connections, his experience, his ability to build and create teams, I think he'll be all right in the long term. But short term, kind of worried about Jason and concerned, and really concerned for the impact it'll have on his family. And you always think about that. Once you have a family, you kind of think about that. But I mean, it sometimes is it's a great business, but sometimes it's not a great business. And certainly friends and colleagues that you see working in hockey, you're always concerned that whenever there is a coaching change. On the flip side, when there is a change, there's always an opportunity for someone else, right? And Drew is someone who is young. He can relate to players. He's had a lot of success in the Junior B League in Saskatchewan. So this certainly is a good opportunity for him to, you know, kind of like a 26-game tryout for Drew and the Bruins. And so certainly there's a good nucleus of players there that Jason has brought in and Drew has been part of, and great opportunity for him. So, you know, one door closes, another door opens for someone else. And hopefully Jason lands on his feet, and hopefully Drew has a good run here till the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. As I said, league won't be the same without Jason Tatarnic. Think about that final with the man sitting over here with the Bombers and Bruins. That was so epic a couple of years ago, and just over the years too. Very quick last one from me. I have to shout out Jamie Neugebauer and the Melville Millionaires committing D1 to Tennessee State. You must be so thrilled for Jaden.
You know, he's a kid that you watch him, and he's such a smooth skater. You know, he has that explosive speed, and certainly when he was at the Western All-Star Challenge in November, you could really see that he started to grow. He's getting taller. He's starting to fill out. So you can really see all kinds of potential with him. And hats off to him. That's awesome. You know, and Tennessee, to their credit, are going to give him another year to develop under the tutelage of Doug Johnson. So certainly he's a player who can score. He's a player that has some speed. You know, he's a player that can work with a center that can get him the puck, and he can finish. So hats off to him. That's awesome. And that's a new independent program. Looks like a great program. You know, and if you were a kid playing college hockey, I think the two places that would be high on my list would be Tennessee and Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be a lot. Those are a couple fun places to be for sure. And shout out to Ethan Hilbig, University of Windsor as well. So just a quick shout out to Ethan Hilbig. Right.
So obviously they must really like Tylen. They're going after his brother, and you know, and I mean that's the way it is. They're good kids. They work hard. You know, they're good teammates. Just celebrated his 200th game in the league. So hats off to him as well. And I think what people don't understand is that U Sport hockey is very good hockey. Oh, yeah. It's fast, it's competitive, the players are mature, and it's probably not showcased or highlighted enough. They really don't celebrate what a great league it is, and people have this perception that you have to go down to the States to have a quality hockey experience. And you know, we have some incredible U Sport programs in the West and in Canada, and certainly anytime a player is looking at any kind of opportunity that involves post-secondary education and ability to play, that's awesome. But you got to do your homework, and you got to find out whether the program and whether the coach is going to be a good fit for you. But obviously, Tylen must enjoy it, and so Ethan is on his way, and they have a sister that's quite a good player as well. Yeah. And she is just getting to that 18U AAA age, and she has got feet and hands that you have never seen on a girl, and she's going to have a bright future in hockey as well. So hats off to the Hilbig family.
There you go.
Certainly haven't seen it on a Hilbig anyways. I'm kidding.
Wow, Jamie is not allowed in Kindersley anymore.
Kyle Adamson's going to pay me a visit now.
Jamie is locked out of the Kindersley Interpipeline Arena.
They're angry at me already. It's fine.
Kyle, did we miss anything? Anything else you want to touch on before we let you go?
I appreciate me guilting you into having me on, Clark. And you did a great job the other day on the Rod Peterson show.
Oh, thank you.
You're awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I didn't mean to cut you short. It was just the way everything worked out timing-wise. And I haven't done that show myself. That was the first time I'd done it. So I'm not used to commercial breaks. I'm used to just doing whatever we want to do on here and then saying, oh, let's go to a commercial. So it's a big difference. But Kyle, thanks for joining us today. Enjoy Winnipeg, enjoy the showcase, and we'll talk to you after that.
Yeah, thanks for having me, gentlemen. And hey, you know what? I've got a lot of compliments in the rinks about the quality job that you two are doing with the programming and with the writing and with the support and promotion of the league. So really appreciate you guys, and hats off to you two and to Rory for keeping the SJHL top of mind in people.
Your $20 is in the mail, Kyle. Appreciate that. Enjoy Winnipeg. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there we go. Now we're bringing it back into the studio, and look who's with us. Magically, the TV magic, Mike Reagan. Mike, pull that microphone right in for you. Thanks for joining us today, Mike.
Yeah, it just kind of conveniently worked out that our day off was on the day of the show, so very excited to be here.
Well, a good week for you guys. I'm sure you're not disappointed about 7-0 over the course of 2 games. A couple of shutouts for Matthew Keeper. Can maybe just break down the couple of games so far this week for us?
Yeah, I thought that the game in Melville was a little bit of I don't want to say a snooze fest or anything like that, but you know, as a road team, you'll take that. I think that you know, we weren't happy with the way we played, but we played good enough to win. And you know, and then last night I thought that Keeps did a great job at kind of weathering the storm, made a couple big saves early on. We knew Estevan was going to get that little bit of a coach's bump, and no question about it that we were a little bit nervous about that. And you need your goaltender to come up with some big saves early on when they're pressuring, and he did that for us. And then obviously we just been getting timely scoring from a lot of different guys throughout our lineup, and again that happened for us last night. And very happy with coming out with back-to-back shutouts. And you know, we were kind of joking a week ago, I guess, with Keeps. He was, I think, 3 minutes away against Kindersley from getting a shutout, and that's happened a couple times this year, and he's like, I just can't get this shutout, and now all of a sudden he's got back-to-back, so real happy for him. He's been a huge part of our turnaround, I guess, and so for him to get rewarded like this is great.
Undefeated since he's arrived. And it was so funny for me to see the tweet on Tuesday night that says Matthew Keeper records his first SJHL shutout, and I was like, "What? Like, that seemed crazy."
Yeah.
Can you just talk about? I think we've talked about this a little bit. Talk about his impact for you guys since he's arrived.
Yeah, just another point on that. That was his 100th career junior game that he got it in. So kind of fitting. You know, it was kind of nice for him. But as far as an impact goes. You know, I think that, and not to take anything away from Kenny. Kenny's a terrific goalie, and he's been great for us over, you know, the 2.5 years that he's been with us. It's tough. It's kind of like being an assistant coach, and then when you get put into the hot seat, it's a lot different. And for Kenny, I think that, you know, to know that he was expected to fill the shoes of guys, you know, before him, you know, what Laser did for us last year, and Shelley did, you know, before that. Yeah. You know, it's a tough position to be in, and not saying that he's not capable of doing it. We're very happy with him, and I think Keeps has been great for him as well, taking a lot of pressure off of him. If you take a look at since Keeps has been here, Kenny's numbers have gone up as well, and we're real happy for him. But I think the thing about Keeps is he's just got such a calm demeanor about him, and that rubs off on the rest of the guys. I think when you see that your goaltender's never panicking, you know, that's a good thing for your team, and I think that we've just been able to build off of his confidence, and which has made us a lot better team. But you know, in saying that, you got to give some credit to guys like Marsden that we brought in. You know, getting Leighton Carruthers was huge for us, and unfortunately he's injured right now, but he was just starting to come into his own and get that offensive touch that he had when he was, you know, 16 years old. So, you know, he'll be back for the playoffs, and but there's been, you know, 2 or 3 guys that have had a major impact, but probably not as much as what Keeps has for sure.
Speaking of new guys having an impact, I think I had a dream like 2 years ago that Liam Hunks was on the Flin Flon Bombers, and I woke up in a cold sweat, and I was like, "Oh man!" Like
that's the shock of the century, is that you were dreaming about Liam Hunks.
Well, you know, fair enough. What has he done to this team?
Yeah, Hunksy has been terrific. I mean, obviously, you and I have talked about him numerous times, and that, and I said to you yesterday, I think that you know, he's smiling a lot in Flin Flon right now, and we're pretty happy with him, and he brings another guy that can eat up a lot of minutes. He's probably not playing as many minutes as he did in Notre Dame, but that's a good thing. You know, I think that it allows him to maybe exert himself more with those minutes, and he's not having to conserve himself and you know, keep that tank half full, you know, throughout each shift and that sort of thing. But with Leps and him and Tanchuk, as I mentioned to you, to know that we can have one of those guys on the ice at all times is very comforting for us as coaches. And he moves the puck so well, and I think that he's probably, his hockey IQ is even better than I thought it was. And we watched a lot of video on him. He's a guy that I thought last year at the end of the year, when looking at defensemen that could return to the league, I thought he was going to be the leading scoring defenseman, and he's right there. He's still got that opportunity. So very happy with him. Thank you, Notre Dame.
One guy, Mike, I've been super impressed with this year, and he's only 18, is Cohen Sempt, and you obviously gave him a good shot at Team Canada West, and he's been showing well on every level so far. How huge has he been to just kind of stabilize your lineup as an 18-year-old, having the impact that he's had so far this year?
Yeah, I know you don't mean it this way, but I didn't give him the shot. You know,
You're right.
He earned it.
Yeah. Great wording.
I'm big on that. You know, I think that there's a lot of people, and fair point. You know, they look at it, they go, the Flin Flon Bomber coach is there. You know, the Bombers are going to be there. But Luke Lepper and Cohen Sempt were two of our better players. I think Leps was our best defenseman.
Yeah.
And he's grown so much. If you take a look at his point production since Canada West, it's been huge. But Semter, I mean, he leads all 18-year-olds in points per game. You know, he was a 17-year-old that played in our top 6 last year with some pretty good players in Vokler and Alexei. So you got to give a lot of credit to them. I think they did a great job of bringing him along and you know, maybe making up for some of the mistakes that a young player is going to make.
Yeah.
And now, you know, I even joke with him. I said, you can't act like an 18-year-old. To me, you're a 19, 20-year-old. You've got to produce on a nightly basis, and he's done a tremendous job with that. And he's still growing. Like he's going to get better and better. I'm really excited about him. His hockey IQ is really good. I think that handling the pressure of being a go-to guy every night is something that he's managing well, and he's going to continue to get better at that.
Yeah, for sure. Still, obviously, lots of experienced pieces around him, so it's not just your show either. Obviously, you can't win that way if it's just one guy's show either. But I guess trying to think about how to word this exactly. But I remember months and months ago, the Bombers were in 9th place, 10th place in the SJHL. Just talk about maybe how you managed that. Were you quiet? Were you like maybe calm down a bit and give us some time, and just now that obviously it's totally, the script is flipped. How have you seen the year so far?
It's kind of funny looking back on it now, but it wasn't funny back then.
No.
I think from the get-go, like our staff, our scouting staff, who've done a tremendous job. Obviously, we're not in the position without the guys like John Clausen, Travis Baber, Justin Perot. I'm sure I miss it. Like, we have a couple other guys that help out for sure, and that sort of thing. But Cole's done a great job as recruiting and stuff like that. But our message to our fans and anybody that's associated with the team, our board, be patient. We had a lot of young guys, and if you take a look at our lineup, and trust me, I've done the math on championship teams, how many rookies they have in the lineup and that sort of thing. In this league, it's a tough league, and you got to be physically mature and that sort of thing. But it just takes some time for those young guys, and this is the best crop of young guys that we've had. Like, and this is no slight at anybody else, but like, you just wait to see what Wyatt Stinton, Ryder Muka, Leo Seitz are going to end up being in a year's time. Those guys are playing, maybe lesser roles on our team, but they've done a tremendous job with that. And I always say that young guys have the quickest rate of maturing and developing because they can adjust. 19-year-olds, by then, you should see them, at the peak of their performance, and 20-year-olds, obviously. But our 17-year-olds have grown so much. I shouldn't say just 17-year-olds. Rhett Ewan has been tremendous for us. Landon Alexander, Nate Roberge, Emerson Clark's coming a long ways. Again, I'm probably missing a couple guys, and I hate doing that. But those guys have developed into everyday players that we can rely on, and so that patience has paid off for us. I think going back to being in 10th position, the only thing that made me feel okay was the fact that it was such a log jam. Like, you could go from 10th to 5th if you had a good weekend. And so everybody was log jammed there. We just happened to be there with our points, I think by 2 points or something like that. But it's definitely not an area that we're accustomed to. But we believe in this group, and we did back then, and I knew it was just a matter of time.
Sure. Last one for me, Mike. Really appreciate your time. We could talk for hours, and we will again. But obviously, another piece of that, I know you would never make an excuse for yourself, but a piece of that was the fact that you were coaching Canada West at the World Junior A Challenge, and you had to kind of split your time. And I know you're a human being at the same time, so you have to give yourself that piece. But I guess when you look back on that sort of experience, what did you kind of learn from it? And the B part of that is it kind of nice to just kind of focus on the Bombers only now?
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, it's stressful. I knew that, obviously I've had the experience before. What a lot of people don't realize too, and this is the best way that I can kind of put it, is in 2015, 16, 17, when I was involved before, we had all the BCHL players as well. So you had the best available players to you. A year ago, obviously, when Brooks and those teams left, you still had a good pot to pick out of. So back in 15, 16, 17, we're picking from the A pot. Last year, Barnes and them were able to pick from the B pot. And no disrespect, but we were picking from, a smaller
things
group
are different.
of players.
Things are different,
and that's going to happen. A year ago, they had, I think, 17 players that were a part of those 5 teams that had left to the BCHL. So I'm tremendously proud of the group of guys to win bronze. And I know it didn't look good. I know it wasn't pretty. But as we talked about before, I think in maybe one of our segments before, it takes time when you're putting together a group of kids from 3 different leagues, and I'll tell you what, those guys just stuck together, and so that was tremendous to see them get rewarded for that. But back to your question, I mean, it's a lot of hours, and you're going home after practice, and it's Team Canada West the rest of the day, and maybe there's some other things that maybe get left behind with your own team. But in saying that, Cole is a guy that I trust a lot, has done a tremendous job with us, and he definitely helped in the whole process of me being distracted with Canada West.
Yeah, and future head coach for sure material. I think we can all agree there. So you mentioned a couple questions ago the block that has been this league, the parity is, for lack of a better term, but this year, I don't know, maybe I'm just biased because we're in the middle of it right now, but it seems like there's no easy outs this year. It seems like every team on any given night really has a chance to win, top to bottom. Have you noticed anything different this year in terms of that? I mean, you've been around. You've been through a few of these things, a few of these regular seasons, so you've seen the good and the bad. So does this year seem different to you at all?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you guys. I hear this, but I think it's because we're in the moment. Yeah. And so you forget about previous years and stuff like that. And I just think that this league is tough all the time. Yeah. I would say 5 years ago we were saying the same thing. If you don't show up, you're going to lose. And it doesn't matter if you're playing the 12th place team or the 5th place team. You got to show up in order to win. And So I don't want to say that it's any different. I feel like there's a lot of good teams and there's a lot of good coaches in this league, and this league works extremely hard at being probably the most competitive top to bottom league in Junior A, and that's a good thing. I think that every team pushes each other to be better, and we get a better product that way. So I wouldn't say, honestly, guys, and that's just my honest opinion, I don't know if it's really that much difference than it has been over the last 4 years.
That's totally fair. And like I said, you've been through it more than I have. So, I mean, you would have a better perspective. So that's perfect. That's why we ask. And I think the last one for me, Nugsy, is, you're on your southern road trip right now. You've been to Melville. You've been to Estevan. You moved to Weyburn tomorrow night. Talk about the road trip and I guess going into Weyburn. What's the message? What's the strategy going into Weyburn?
Well, today the guys are just enjoying their day off.
Yeah.
That's the big thing is, we always talk about the first game on a road trip is so important, and we do that a lot, obviously, and getting that win in Melville helps us going into Estevan, takes a little bit of pressure off of that game. Although there was, like I said, just, with the coaching change, there's going to be, maybe some freedom for that team, and just in saying that, I know you guys talked about it a little bit, but just my condolences to Tarts. You never want to see a guy that loses his job or whatever. And he's been around the game for a long time. I'm sure he's going to be just fine, and we wish him all the best. And I know that probably people are going, coming from Flin Flon,
I was going to say, you guys had a couple of battles.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? At the end of the day, once the game's done and that sort of thing, you have respect for what every coach goes through. And people don't understand, and I'll kind of put it to people this way, that have kids, and I know you have 2 kids there, Nuge. Just imagine having 25 kids and trying to manage them, and every guy's got a different personality. Every day there's a different problem that you got to try to solve. There's frustration with your own kids, I'm sure, as parents. We're no different as coaches. We care about these kids like they're our own kids, and I always say this all the time. I don't have kids of my own, but these are 25. I have 25 kids. So I'm sure that at times people always are thinking that coaches are crazy or whatever. But you do this on a daily basis with 25 kids, and you'll have some stressful moments and that sort of thing. But just back to your question, I think that our mindset going into Weyburn is, let's keep this thing going. We've got a target on our back right now, which I think earlier on in this little run, like when we're at 10, 11, 12, we didn't really have that target because everybody's target was on Melfort, which we appreciate, Thanks, Splevy.
Sneaky Bombers.
But now it's getting talked about a little bit more.
Sure.
But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that pressure is a good thing. There's going to be bigger moments ahead of us. And so it's how do you handle that pressure? And our guys have done a tremendous job of it so far. But I think that tomorrow night, I know that Mapes is probably sitting there licking his chops and definitely wants to be that team to beat us. So, which is great. I think that it's going to be an exciting night. I like Weyburn's rink because it's very similar to the Whitney, the dimensions of it, and it's got that old feel to it. So I'm excited about our team playing there tomorrow night.
That's awesome. And Weyburn had a 14 game win streak of their own. So I mean, it's been a wild year with the double-digit win streaks across the league. There's been a few.
Gives us lots to talk about.
That's what we're trying to do for you guys. We don't want you to be bored here.
That's why you're winning all the games.
I always tell the Hounds boys that junior hockey isn't about the players, the fans, or any of that. It's about the broadcasters. That's what I always say.
And Mike, just to go back to your 25 kids point, not only 25 kids, but you got the crazy uncles and aunts on the board of directors, and you got the fan base that's down your neck all the time.
Couldn't do without them, though.
Absolutely. I'm just saying, you're juggling a lot. I always say that junior hockey coaches and general managers have some very difficult jobs, because if you look at other coaches, they are coaches, and then there's managers that also help them out. But when you're doing both things, I know you have a support staff around you and everything, but it's tough. I've been on the business side of a junior hockey team in the past, and there's a lot that goes into it that people don't really realize. They think you put a team on the ice, you play the game, you practice, that's all there is to it. No. It's a lot. There's a lot to it. So, Mike, appreciate you giving us a little bit of time today while you're here. I'm glad this worked out as well as it did. And good luck the rest of the way. Let's see how long the streak can keep going.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Great job.
There you go. Thank you, Mike. There you go. So Mike Reagan joining us and wrapping up the show here, Nugsy. Obviously, we kind of covered everything at this point, so I think we're good to go. So I'll thank the sponsors one more time. Cantera Seeds, Borgo, Capital Auto Mall. I got the 3 off the top of my head before they got the graphic. Sask Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, UPL, Sask Energy, SGEU, Great Western, SGI, RBC. And make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels as well. YouTube, of course, but also Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and get your subscription to Flow Hockey. Let's quickly have a look at the upcoming schedule for the weekend. There are games tonight. So as we start with the Dog and Pony Show, Notre Dame and Humboldt with the Hounds and Broncos. And then Melville's taking on Battleford's North Stars, so that should be interesting. As we move into the weekend, I feel like a weatherman sometimes when I'm doing this. We move into the weekend. There's a cold pressure front coming in from the north. Kindersley is facing Estevan. This is actually Estevan's parents' weekend. I actually got invited to be in their Calcutta shootout as a alumni. I can't go, unfortunately, but I was asked. We'll go back to Friday. You guys are going way too fast back there. Just
they want to
chill.
get on with it.
They want to get out of here. The graphic's wrong. Oh, okay. Well, Friday there's games. I see. Got it. Well, they can say Saturday as long as the games are fine. We can go back to it. That's fine. I'll give you permission. We'll blame Kelly for it. This is Friday. Okay, perfect. It is Friday. Kindersley's going to be in Estevan. That's game 1 of 2, actually, back-to-back there. Flin Flon, you're moving on to Weyburn. We just talked about that. Nipawin's going to be in Yorkton. Melville plays Battlefords again, and then Larange and Melfort. And then on Saturday, actual Saturday, is this actual Saturday? Nope. We got 4 games on actual Saturday. Kindersley's in Estevan, like I mentioned. Melfort and Nipawin flip-flop their locations. Flin Flon's going to finish up the road. Are you done the road trip, Mike, or do you have more games after this on the road trip?
No, we're going to the showcase from Notre Dame.
He gets to see my smiley face on Saturday.
There you go. So they're finishing up the road trip and then heading to the showcase in Notre Dame, and then Weyburn will take on Yorkton, and that is a heavyweight battle, so that should be a good one. Mike, one more time, thank you again for joining us. Everybody in the back, thanks for putting this on for us, as you do each and every week. Jamie, thanks for joining me. Jacob, just thanks for being yourself, buddy. Always. And keep it locked, because next week we're obviously going to have a special edition of SJHL Weekly, because Jamie's not going to be here. That's why it's special. No, but Jamie's going to be Jamie's going to be in Winnipeg at the showcase, so he won't be here for Monday. So Jacob, I don't know if you know this, but you're coming on the show on Monday.
I'll be in Winnipeg.
He's in Winnipeg too, so never mind. Me and Rory will handle it. Me and Rory will handle it. We got this. Rory, we're on our own if he's listening. But anyways, it's going to be a fun week. So we'll preview the showcase one more time and get you as much updates as we possibly can. And then we'll be right back here a week from today. Jamie will be back here, and we'll cover it all on Thursday for SJHL Insider. So for me and everybody else here, enjoy the hockey this weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next week.